We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Hey, welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. We're going to start in a few minutes, but I want to tell you to hit up our social sites, retweet, share, comment, like, do all of that stuff. It can only help us out and it'll make the show even better. But we're getting ready to give you a lot of good Ole Miss information, and I just thought I would tell you that because the POMcast is starting. Well, it's starting right now. Wait, no, that's a little early. It is starting right about now. Hey, welcome. It is Tuesday morning. Thank you for joining the POMcast this morning. I am your host, Stephen Willis. Before we get started, I do want to tell you about Travel and Cruise World. That's 1-800-330-7461. Again, that is 1-800-330-7461. What I was trying to do here, we're 18 months into this at this point. I wanted you guys to have a resource that you could use to have the perfect vacation and make it as easy as possible. I've got notifications going all over the place. And these guys can do that. They can get you the same rates that you can get on by yourself online. Plus, they have the knowledge of the mask rules in Disney, in Universal, in over by the beach in Tampa and Clearwater, in Orlando. They would have that info. So give them a call, 1-800-330-7461, travelandcruiseworld.com. See Central Florida like a local. I also want to tell you about bookatailgate.com. Take it to the Grove. Tailgating and events can help you out in the Grove. They have single game packages. They have the rest of the season package that you can order. You can basically get a new tent. If more people is coming than normal, you can get your tailgating gear stored. You can get rentals for tailgating equipment you need, a TV. They can even pick up your catering. Give them a call at 662-701-1177, bookatailgate.com. Tell them we sent you. And also, what else is going on? If you want to watch the show, you can catch us at Old Positively or at the Stephen Willis on Twitter. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast. You can catch us on YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Subscribe and hit the bell. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about, and it is by far the best notification system. And we're on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. Down below, you can see all the things that we're on podcast-wise. If your audio is more your bag, you can search us at Positively Ole Miss and leave a 5-star review. You can say whatever you want to, just leave a 5-star review. We appreciate it. That'll help with the algorithm with people trying to search the show. That's the reason we say that. So, today's show is the Know Thy Enemy episode of the show. We'll go over a little bit of statistical analysis of Auburn football. They're 5-2. We're 6-1. That's the avenue that we are on at the moment. They have not played Texas A&M or Alabama. We have just Texas A&M left on the schedule, so we probably have a little bit tougher road to hoe, you might say, coming into this and what's going on. So they beat LSU in Tiger Stadium. They did do that, and I will bring it up in just a second. And we'll see what their losses were. I know they won the game against Georgia State. They should have lost. There was kind of a weird call on the ground. What's going on? But we'll see. Looking at their schedule, they had the 2 blowouts early over Akron and Alabama State. They lost to Penn State, who just lost the overtime thriller going 9 deep and 20-18 losers. And they lost to Georgia. Other than that, they eked past Georgia State, even though it's 34-24. They went to Tiger Stadium and beat LSU. And they went to Fayetteville, which is a house of horrors for Ole Miss, and beat Arkansas. So that's actually a bigger win than you would think. They have Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Alabama left. The week before they get South Carolina, before Alabama. But this is probably the best chance. If Ole Miss is going to run the table, if they ran the table, the best chance to get the win over Alabama is probably the Auburn game. And let's see, Arkansas is on that list as well. Alabama's got LSU, New Mexico State, Arkansas, and Auburn. So Auburn's probably the best bet to get that moving on. So looking at a statistical analysis of what's going on, you can see that Auburn is led rushing by Tank Bigsby, great running back, probably the best running back in the SEC at the moment. Jarquez Hunter from Philadelphia, Mississippi, though, is close behind. Tank Bigsby's 102 for 526. Jarquez Hunter is 57 for 492. So it's something we might want to keep an eye on in this game. Bo Nix is 128 for 128 of 211, 1488, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They've thrown the ball more often than Matt Corral. They have completed less. What it is. Demetrius Robertson is the leading receiver. They have 3 receivers over 20 catches. They have a 23, a 22, and a 21. For all about the same yards. They all are averaging somewhere between 12.9 and 13.6 yards a catch. They had a little bit of the dropsies that has popped up from time to time. So that is something to keep an eye on as well. Punt returns, Demetrius Robertson. He was the Cal guy that transferred to Georgia, who is now transferred to Auburn, by the way. Nehemiah Pritchett is averaging 30 yards per return, and the man on defense is probably Colby Wooden. He only has 32 total tackles, but he has 7 TFLs and 4 sacks. So he's the guy to pay attention to. If you want to look at the Ole Miss comps, Ole Miss has also 2 guys over 400 yards with Matt Corral and Henry Parrish. Snoop Connor's at 388. And Jerry Neely's going to be in there as well. Matt Corral's thrown for 1,913 yards, 15 touchdowns, 1 interception. Leading receiver is Dontario Drummond with 36 catches for 619. Braylon Sanders and Jonathan Mingo are right below that, but we all know their situation at the moment. Matt Brown is having a fantastic year. He really is having a fantastic year, averaging nearly 47 yards a kick. Looking at the numbers on defense, the leading tackler is Chance Campbell. Otis Reese is second, and only 2 tackles behind at 54, and only 2 tackles behind him is Mark Robinson. So, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, that's the know thy enemy. Now, what does that mean? It means we're dealing with a good football team. Is what it means. If you honestly look at it, what's going on, you're dealing with a good football team. Now, Auburn's got some stuff they're going through right now that is off the field that could provide a distraction. The main thing is that Alabama has released a vaccine mandate for their Institute of Higher Learners. Basically, federal money depends on it, so the schools are going to do it. Well, Brian Harsin is playing some sort of a high ground, I guess, maybe, about being vaccinated and just not talking about it. And I expect he's going to do it, but he's invited a media firestorm that will absolutely engulf his team this week. So, everybody's going to ask the question, is he vaccinated? That has become the question of this week. Not the fact that they're playing the number 9 or number 10 team in the country. That's not the story anymore. The story is, has he taken a shot? That's the story in Auburn. And the media is going to run with that. Until they get an answer that is satisfactory to them, they are going to run with that. So for the rest of the year, December 8th is the deadline, by the way. So that's plenty of time. That's the full season. If Brian Harsin gets removed like Nick Rolovich, it's not really going to affect Auburn football, even though, a one-year coach is kind of problematic. But in the end, I think he's probably going to get the shot. But it is what it is. But this distraction is not what he wants his team to be. You have a top 10 team coming into your place Saturday night. The emphasis should be on that. They should be working on trying to sell that out. They should be working on trying to handle that. But there's stuff happening outside of the realm of football that is negatively affecting their program at the moment. But it is what it is. He might get it, he might not get it. That doesn't matter. We need to play clean. We need to do what we do in the defense. If it shows up like it did against LSU, we're going to win the game. But it is what it is. We need to play clean offensively, and on defense, we need to play hyper aggressive, and just don't let Tank Bigsby beat you. Just don't let that guy beat you. Now, this offense that Brian Harsin runs is a little bit different than what you are used to seeing for Auburn, what you've seen for the last essentially 10 years. This is a pro-style spread. This is going to look more closely like LSU than what you traditionally think Auburn looks like. And it's just a pro spread. It really is. You're going to see them run the ball, and everything they're going to attack is going to be out of the pro spread. It's a combination of what Brian Harsin did up at Boise State and what Mike Bobo did last year at South Carolina. So there's going to be some under center stuff, things like that. So, but in the end of the day, it's going to be a pro style spread. So we have to be ready to attack the run just like we were last week, and we don't need a slow start, because on the road, a slow start, that game might be 14-0 if last week happens this week. The slow starts are concerning. We started slow against Tennessee. We started slow against LSU. We got it going, but we started slow in both games. Hopefully Matt Corral is going to be a little bit healthier. He went last week, so I expect it's going to get a little bit better during the week. And also, do not underestimate the reps that Luke Altmaier getting last week and this week in practice, how much it's going to help him. So, we are going to do the press conference highlights real quick, and after it's over, we'll talk about everything that's said. All right, stick around.
All right, in review of the game, really pleased with how our defense played. Really did a good job stopping the run for a team last week. They had to run the ball extremely effective against a really good Florida team. So that was a big challenge for us. And it was great to see in the game it ended up being an unusual feeling game for us in our 2 years, where we are playing really good on defense. We're limited on offense with, so many skilled guys out. So once we got the lead, we kind of played that way, even punting at midfield. And it was good to see that work, even though the book doesn't say it, but the book also doesn't know how you feel during the game, that your defense is playing like that. And so, I don't remember that happening here where we punt them deep and then get it back 3 plays later. So that was a good feeling. It would be awesome if our defense kept playing like this and we could play to our defense. I think that, we're a good team that could be great. And that's if we play well and if we get guys back on offense, because he's playing without a lot of people, and even some people playing in there are not 100%. So big challenge this week, go on the road again for the 3rd straight road game into a really, really hard place to play. A game that's put at night, which always makes it more difficult. So it'll be very challenging for us, against a quarterback that runs around, gives people a lot of problems, and a defense that is limited most of the teams they played.
Yeah, it's a whole nother element. It's really difficult because he's super athletic. He's fast, but he's also physical. So he can finish runs. So it's, he has the arm talent to make the throw. So you have to respect that. And then when he escapes the pocket, it's not like he's not a frail quarterback by any means. So he has the speed to beat you on the edge, and then you gotta be right in your positioning because he'll put a shoulder into you too. So it's another element that adds like a big wrinkle.
Honestly, we haven't yet played our best game with the whole group. We still somebody have a good game and the other won't have a good game. So we still working on that right now. But when we do have all 3 of us have a good game, it's gonna be hard to stop us. So we still working.
Yeah, I don't notice, very much in the game with that, good or bad. So it was good to meet with some of them afterwards and hear their reaction. You could just see it on their face and how they talked about, wow, what an awesome game. Crowd was awesome. Really could see myself playing here. So that was really good. And like I said, that's how it's supposed to be. So we need to keep doing that and having atmospheres like that, just like we need to keep, making sacks and making touchdowns. So it all goes hand in hand. We have a very high expectation here. Like someone said this morning, you guys are bowl eligible. I didn't even realize that. It's not the way we think. And, honestly, trying to change the way a lot of people think. So, see if we can get there.
I think you feel a little bit, obviously better when you don't see as many points on the board. I think we would have liked to obviously start and finish better. But I think that we have like a piece of that middle game that we could be pretty proud of. So like that's a good feeling, but not like a comfortable feeling either, because we know that, if we don't get the goal line stand, it's 14 points, and the game's a little different. So
it's just more opportunity for the running backs. We stay prepared through the week, so we know what type of game plan we'll have. So we just gotta be ready.
Yeah, we post the penalties like we do every Monday morning in here, go over them, show them not just was it a 10-yard penalty, but it was a 33-yard penalty because of the run, and so we had very critical penalties. I told them today, I said, guys, we don't just lead NCAA in penalties, we lead Little League, junior high. There ain't no team that has more penalties than us. So to me, my message was them to this is that good to great thing. What if you're overcoming that because you're good players? What if you didn't do that? Then what would be the result in the game? You're making it very hard on yourself. So to me, that's a big step. Getting healthy, play consistency, limit penalties, and we could go from good to great.
Yeah, this is absolutely true. They could go from good to great, because think about all the plays just to dig out of that hole that they have to make on a 2nd and 20 against LSU. You saw it yesterday. The penalties just absolutely affected them moving forward. But if they clean those up, they could really clean those up and get this win on the Plains, which is not going to be an easy place to play. It absolutely is not. It's going to be difficult. But so was Tennessee. But so was Bryant-Denny. Both of those places were up for Ole Miss. This is a different Ole Miss. Anytime anybody tells you what Ole Miss can't do, I think it's funny that an unranked team is talking about what a top 10 team can't do at the moment. If Ole Miss wins the rest of the games, they have a shot at the college football playoff. Period. Depending on what happens, they have an absolute shot at the college football playoff. And you know what? People would want to see it. It's absolutely amazing that people would want to see it, but people would want to see that game. If Ole Miss playing against anybody, you've seen these mock 12-team playoffs that have come out. And a couple of them have Ole Miss versus Ohio State. Ohio State Ole Miss 9th and Ohio State 6th or something like that. I don't know exactly what's going on, but Ohio State's in there. Who wouldn't want to see Ole Miss go to the shoe for the first round of the playoffs? Who wouldn't want to see that game right now? That would be something else. That would be absolutely... And college football needs to get to that 12-team playoff as soon as possible, because that first round of games, even before the top 4 teams come into the playoff, that 5 through 12 situation of games, how amazing would that look? How intense would those atmospheres be? You could have it set up to where 5 plays 12. That could be the 11 o'clock game, but the night game, the one that all the money's made in, is 8 versus 9. Ole Miss versus Ohio State in the shoe. It would absolutely own college football Saturday. Now, they would probably have to geographically put it together, and there could be some West Coast teams, and things could be weird, and we might not get what we want to see, but that game could be absolutely fantastic to witness. And that's one thing that I would be looking forward to right now. I would be absolutely looking forward to that right now. But it is what it is. But coming out of the press conference, they were talking about Bo Nix. He got a little bit of love in the press conference from people. They're paying attention to him. If Bo Nix is bad Bo, Auburn is sunk. If Ole Miss's defense comes out and plays like it did against LSU, Auburn's defense is sunk. Auburn has to play hyper clean this game. They really do. Just to keep up the offense. Hopefully, Matt Corral has progressed after another week of treatment and what's going on. Don't underestimate that this week in practice, the reps that Luke Altmaier receives will be absolutely invaluable moving forward. We're not even dealing with the transfer portal, whatever, just for that prospect, for his development, the last 2 weeks have been invaluable. And if something were to happen to Matt, it would help him out as well. So these reps have been invaluable for him. I'm a huge Luke Altmaier guy, and I think as he develops, he'll be fantastic. People see Matt now. Matt's an elite player. Matt's one of the best players to ever come through here. He could be the GOAT to come through here after all is said and done. But people that want to talk about next year some kind of big drop-off, I don't see it. I just don't see it. There's athletes on this team. It might look a little different. It might feel a little different. It's not going to be a drop. It's not going to drop to 4-8. It might drop to 9-3 to 8-4 for 1 year, and then come back up. Because remember, Matt wasn't Matt in 2019. Matt wasn't Matt in 2018. That switch came on last year. Good player, doing fantastic things. Like I said, he could be the GOAT when he leaves here. He was not the GOAT when he got here. Just understand that. There's all about development. Everything's going on. And Lane Kiffin's superpower with this team is the fact that they are hyper confident. The team's confidence is his superpower. And he's worth whatever amount of money you want to pay him. You want to make him the highest paid coach in college football? Do it. He's worth it for that. You make the money back by enrollment and the other things going on. Think about the last month at Ole Miss. How many times we've trended on Twitter. How much we have been the story. Tom Brady getting pajamas sent to him from Ole Miss football. Last night, Peyton Manning wearing an Ole Miss jersey. This is all coincidental on what's going on, but Lane Kiffin being the amplifier of Ole Miss's good news is a good thing. Pay the man whatever it's worth. Do whatever you have to do to keep him. Period. Whenever he comes down to it, it's like, hey, you're looking around. What do you need to stay here? What would make you happy? And do it. Just rubber stamp. Yes. Boom. Yes. Because it's worth it. He's absolutely worth it. He's worth every penny that you can give him. Now, if you try to lowball him and try to play negotiation and do things like that and end up losing, well, it's going to be the end of your career. Just period. There's no way you can come back from that. Because the positives that he brings to Ole Miss outside of football are unmeasurable. The confidence he gives these kids and the way they play, you can see them on weekends. Let him build a monster at Ole Miss. Give him what is needed. If you don't, you will regret it. Like I said, people are going to talk all about whenever it comes to Lane Kiffin and a coaching search about what can't be done at Ole Miss. It's going to be coming from an unranked team talking about a current top 10 team. What can't be done. What has actually been proved is if he can build an Alabama here and we can do what Alabama does, you can accomplish the same goals as you could at Alabama. I'm not saying he's going to do Alabama or anything like that. I'm just saying you can't is not a problem. There's a narrative from national media members about recruiting ground. Recruit Mississippi, there's players, but he recruits nationally. You can do it here. 3 out of the last 4 coaches at Ole Miss have been in the top 10. The one that wasn't took the job after probation, whenever we were trying to get up off the mat. And he recruited the 2019 class that a large chunk of this team is. You can do it here. Period. Grass isn't always greener on the other side, and there's always the fit. There's not a place in the country where Lane Kiffin is a better fit than he is at Ole Miss. Now, there's a media narrative out there. There is actually a media narrative out there about blue bloods. I've said over and over again that blue bloods don't exist. Only coaching exists. If blue bloods existed, Tennessee and Nebraska would still be a thing. Michigan would still be a thing. But they're not. The media wants us to believe that those exist because that means if there's 7 programs across the country that's always really good, they don't have to do as much work to cover it. There's not enough time in the day for these national writers to do it. It's all on a glance. They'll make up opinions and hot takes about a game they have not seen. Pro Football Focus does grades from every player and in no way can have the number of employees required to do that. How do they do that? It's made up. Just like blue bloods. It's made up. It can be done here. Ask Clemson. They weren't a blue blood 10 years ago. They got Dabo, turned it around, got a couple of quarterbacks. Ole Miss under Hugh Freeze. If the NCAA would have left us alone, they were about to become a monster. Just like what Lane Kiffin has created. If 2 different coaches can create that same thing, everybody else is a problem. Remember, they threw the book at Ole Miss for Laramie Tunsil sleeping on a coach's couch. I mean, it was silly. But it's also because of the media narrative of blue bloods. They need everything in a box. And that's what is going on in our society as a whole. Everything gets put in a box. If you don't want to be in a box, don't be in a box, obviously, but that's what they want to do. You're easy when Ole Miss is an 8-4 program. We can put them in this box. LSU, oh, they're an elite program. We can put them in this box. Neither's true. And if you buy into it, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But it's not true. You saw Saturday it wasn't true. But like I said, unranked teams are going to be coming at us, telling us exactly what a top 10 team can't do. Period. And it is up to us to honestly don't give in. If you hear it over and over again, it becomes the truth in your head, and you kind of start going into it. It's kind of like it's kind of it's a serious thing, but like battered women syndrome. You hear it over and over again, you'll start to believe it. And this isn't true. 3 out of the last 4 coaches at Ole Miss has made the top 10. And if you can do that, that's since 2009. I mean, it's 10 years. You can't do that and keep a little Ole Miss mindset. It's time for us to push forward, to do what we expect to do. 8-4 should not be good enough. Lane Kiffin in his press conference said he heard that he was bowl eligible and it didn't even register to him because they don't think that way. And that's the way the rest of the fan base needs to be. The rest of the fan base also needs to be in the stadium. They need to fill out. I know this fan base does not like being told what to do. Period. It's the weirdest thing in the world. But they do not like to being told what to do. But it needs to happen. Also, Liberty has changed from a blue game to a red game because the red looks so good in the stadium versus LSU. I imagine it'll be interesting to see what they wear and what's going on. But we're going to stop it right there. Thank you very much for tuning in today. We are going to be back tomorrow with the POMcast. We'll have Best of the West tonight with Jake Thomas and Kevin Bohannon. And we're also recording with Bill Flowers and recording with Biscuits and SEC today. So hang around for us this week. We broke a record again. It's like 6 straight months of breaking records for Positively Ole Miss. So thank you very much for that. But listen to the other shows, tune in tomorrow, and hotty toddy.